You're on the Military Reporter channel, and in this video, we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. The most important updates are coming from the United States of America, so let's discuss them in detail. According to the information we have, British Prime Minister Starmer arrived at the White House to meet with Trump sometime after Macron arrived. It is noteworthy that Macron himself left empty-handed, as reported by a number of Western media outlets. They both went to discuss Ukraine, its security guarantees, and peace talks. Now we have a lot of different statements, and we are starting to receive the first results of these talks between the Prime Minister and the President of the United States of America. U.S. President Donald Trump expressed confidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin would not break a peace agreement if one were reached. "I've known him for a long time, and I don't believe that he would go back on his word," Trump told the Washington Post when asked what he would do if Putin failed to uphold the terms of the peace deal. Another important statement made by Trump. He denied the question of whether the U.S. would come to the rescue if Russia attacked British troops in Ukraine. "No, they don't need help," Trump told reporters. Earlier, the U.S. president also refused to say the same to French President Macron. Britain and France stated that they would not be able to send peacekeepers to Ukraine unless they receive guarantees of protection from the United States of America. Most importantly, Trump said that he would sign an agreement with Zelensky on Friday, under which the United States would become the main partner in the development of rare earth metals, oil, and gas in Ukraine. Now let's discuss several statements made by the United Kingdom's Prime Minister. Britain is ready to send ground troops and their forces to ensure peace in Ukraine as part of a settlement of the conflict in Ukraine. Another important thing is that Britain will provide more military aid to Ukraine this year than ever before. But probably the most important statement made by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is, on issues like Ukraine, thank you for changing the focus of the conversation to show that a peace agreement is possible. We are ready to work with you to make sure that this peace agreement is durable, lasts a long time, and goes down in history as an agreement that no one has broken. We will work together. Let's make sure this happens. So, all these things we have just discussed are what Trump, Macron, and Starmer allowed us to see and understand. Now we think that, well, we don't know for sure. The United Kingdom and France managed to convince Trump to continue supporting Ukraine. Now we see that, most likely, something is going to continue. Maybe all of them together, Trump, Macron, and Starmer will try to force Zelensky to sign a peace agreement or something like that. And this is exactly what they want us to see and understand. But behind the scenes, a completely different thing happened, and I would like to discuss this with you in detail. I'll remind you that, according to my understanding of the situation, in December 2024, during almost the last months, of Biden's presidency, he transferred the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, under the control of Macron and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Biden knew that it was a very big mistake to keep Zelensky under the control of the CIA because, when Trump came to power, he would obviously take control over Zelensky and use him against Biden and his family. That's why, in December, Biden decided to transfer Zelensky to the Special Forces and Intelligence Services of France and the United Kingdom. Since that moment, or more precisely, since the moment when Trump became president, there were very tough and difficult negotiations between Trump, Macron, and Starmer. Basically, the President of France and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom were trying to get as much as possible, money, influence, maybe something else, in exchange for Zelensky, meaning that Zelensky would be returned under the control of the CIA. Before December 2024, Zelensky was under the complete control of the CIA, and everything that Biden wanted, Zelensky did exactly as ordered. That's why Starmer decided to bring Zelensky as close as possible to him, on the territory of Ireland, where Zelensky was waiting for the end of the negotiation process between Starmer and Donald Trump. After the negotiation process finished, most likely in favor of the United Kingdom and its Prime Minister Starmer, Zelensky received an order to come to New York, the United States of America, and currently there is a process, not of signing a deal for rare metals of Ukraine, though something like this is happening as well. The most important thing is that now, The process of transferring Zelensky himself as president of Ukraine from the control of the special forces of the United Kingdom and France into the hands of the CIA is underway. This transfer will place Zelensky under the complete control of the CIA, meaning that everything the United States instructs Zelensky to do, he will comply with immediately or within minutes. So, this is the situation: the transfer of Zelensky back under the influence and control of the CIA, nothing more. Now, let's return to Ukraine and discuss the situation in detail. Obviously, Trump will now be able to give Zelensky orders, and most likely, he will instruct him either to start the negotiation process with the Russian Federation and initiate a ceasefire before the 20th of April, or maybe Trump will change his mind. Now that he controls Zelensky 100%, he can do whatever he wants. Anyway, sooner or later, we will understand what will happen. Now, let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first, we will talk about the Siversk direction, where the Russians continue their offensive operation. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians once again managed to improve their positions in 3 directions. According to the information we have, for another day in a row, reports continue to confirm that the Russians improved their positions in the eastern part of Lipka, and they are about to begin an offensive toward the settlement of Kislowa. Furthermore, the Russians once again confirmed that they managed to establish complete control over the settlement named Nika, and from these positions, they will try to cut railways and supply lines in this area to disrupt Ukrainian logistics. The main goal is to cut supply and support for the Ukrainian forces currently located in the Malaya Lopan region, more precisely around the former women's prison. According to the information we have, the Russians continue their pressure from the northern direction, advancing toward Viktorivka and Malaya Lopan. So, in the next several days, we are going to witness heavy clashes in this area. The main target and primary goal of the Russians is to establish complete control over everything west of this red line, and most likely, this is going to happen because there are still many days left before the start of the negotiation process. Despite the fact that Zelensky was successfully transferred under the control of the CIA today, the military situation in Ukraine remains highly dynamic. Now, let's move forward and discuss the northern Kupiansk direction, where, according to the information we have, the Russians managed to improve their positions significantly, almost reaching the northern outskirts of the settlement of Kupiansk. So, let's discuss this in detail. Here is the map from yesterday. By the end of February 27, 2025, and by the morning of February 28, the Russians had significantly improved their position. From this foothold, the Russians are about to begin an offensive operation in the direction of Kravka, and they will advance further along the Asal River toward the settlement of Golova. In the coming days, we will see clashes, and the first updates will come from this area. Now, let's move forward and discuss a very strange situation along the front line between the cities of Chasiv Yar and Toretsk. Regarding the city of Chasiv Yar, according to the information we have, during the previous 24 hours, the Ukrainians carried out several counterattacks in the northwestern part of the settlement. As a result of their counteroffensive, the Ukrainians managed to restore control over several buildings. Although, from this perspective, they only regained a few streets, meaning this does not change the overall battlefield situation significantly. However, we have noticed that the Ukrainians have become more aggressive in their counterattacks. In fact, over the past several weeks, they have managed to regain a lot of territory lost during the Russian offensive. On the Russian side, according to the information we have, they managed to take control over several more blocks and buildings in the central part of the city. This area is expected to be fully captured by Russian forces soon. Furthermore, according to multiple mappers, both neutral and pro-Russian, the Russians managed to enter another microdistrict in Chasiv Yar, Shenka. Let's take a look at how the map has changed. For example, this was the situation by the end of February 27, and here is the updated situation by the morning of February 28. We see that the battle for Chasiv Yar is nearing its conclusion. Meanwhile, strange updates are coming from the settlement of Torsky. According to the information we have, in the past 24 hours, the Ukrainians managed to improve their positions significantly. First, let's discuss a video published by Russian sources. In this late February footage, we see Russian forces bombing Ukrainian positions in central Chasiv Yar with artillery or FPV drones. The exact building seen in this video was quickly geolocated, and according to coordinates and map positions, it was confirmed to be a Ukrainian stronghold that was targeted. Based on this report, we can conclude that the Ukrainians, as a result of their counteroffensive over the past 24 to 72 hours, managed to restore control over a large pocket in the central part of the city. Currently, it's unclear what exactly the Ukrainians are trying to achieve, but some sources claim that this part of the city housed a Ukrainian unit that was encircled, and the main goal of this operation was to break the encirclement and create a corridor for evacuation. Maybe this is exactly what we are witnessing right now. Anyway, I'll remind you that just yesterday, we discussed another Ukrainian counterattack in this same area. On February 26, Russian sources published a video showing the beginning of that counterattack, where the Ukrainians managed to seize the first buildings and microdistricts in central Chasiv Yar. And today, we received additional confirmation that the Ukrainians have significantly improved their positions. Moreover, this was not the only attack in the area. According to pro-Russian sources, another Ukrainian assault took place from the western part of the pocket. As a result of this counterattack, the Ukrainians managed to establish complete control over this part of the city. For now, we are not adjusting the maps, but if we receive geolocated evidence, we will update them accordingly. So, it is possible that everything inside this yellow line is already under full Ukrainian control. Furthermore, yesterday, we received another video from the southwestern part of the Zabala district. I'll remind you that yesterday, Russian sources published footage showing Russian soldiers clearing the area. In this video, a Russian soldier dropped an anti-tank mine inside a building to destroy a temporary Ukrainian deployment point. As a result of the explosion, the entire building was reduced to ruins. This event took place exactly in this area, and today, several neutral mappers reported that the Ukrainians entered this district not by accident, it was part of a counterattack. Counterattack from the Ukrainian side. Summarizing everything, as a result of the counteroffensive operation, the Ukrainians may have even managed to enter the southwestern part of the Balkan. As of now, it is very difficult to understand exactly what the Ukrainians are planning and why the Russians are unable to respond effectively. This is not the first time the Russians have faced problems in this area. Since the beginning of the year, this is probably the fourth or fifth instance where the Russians have been forced to retreat from different parts of the city. The Russians likely have significant personnel issues, which is why, if they fail to stabilize the situation, there is a high chance that the Ukrainians may attempt to counterattack the settlement with greater forces in an effort to regain full control over the area. This would be a complete disaster and a major media loss for the Russians. Now, let's move forward and discuss the situation in the Neo direction. Today, according to the information we have, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly and take full control of the settlement of Zaporo. There were geolocations published by the Ukrainian side. In a video released by the Armed Forces of Ukraine, we can see a large number of Russian soldiers moving through the settlement under fire and attack by Ukrainian FPV drones. This video contained numerous significant moments, two of which were geolocated. One was pinpointed in the northwestern part of the settlement, while another was identified near a tree line in the vicinity. Based on this video, we have updated the map, marking the fields, tree lines, and farms behind these positions as being under complete Russian control. It is evident that the Russians continue their advance, and the settlement of Prina has been caught in a cauldron or encircled by pincers. Most likely, in the next several days, the Russians will continue their offensive operations with the goal of encircling the Ukrainian forces and forcing them to retreat from the area. Given the current trajectory, this is likely to happen within the next few nights. Now, let's move forward and discuss the situation in the area of Lyle-Constantinople. Today, different neutral mappers marked the southern and southwestern parts of Constantinople in favor of the Russians once again. However, the Ukrainians are still holding their positions despite the difficult situation they are facing. One of the most significant updates on Russian advances comes from the southern direction. Over the past 24 hours, the Russians have managed to significantly improve their position. For example, this was the map as seen on the evening of February 27, 2025. By the morning of February 28, 2025, several sources reported that as a result of their offensive operation, the Russians had established complete control over the settlement of Balut. This information was confirmed by neutral mappers, pro-Russian sources, and most importantly, by pro-Ukrainian sources. Furthermore, according to the same pro-Ukrainian sources, another Russian breakthrough can be observed in the area of Privol. The Russians not only managed to enter the village itself, but another group of Russian soldiers advanced further in the northwestern direction with the objective of reaching the outskirts of the settlement of Shenka. The situation for the Ukrainians in this area is very difficult. Now, we understand the Russians' main objective. Over the next several days or weeks, they aim to establish complete control over the following territories: Ainia, Noachat, Balat Pra, Vipa, and most importantly, the settlement of Shenka. Shenka is the largest settlement in this part of the southern Donetsk direction. If the Russians succeed in taking full control of this settlement, it could serve as a crucial foothold for further offensive operations in multiple directions. From this point, the Russians would enter an operational space, allowing them to advance in various directions, including toward the dense network of Ukrainian fortifications. These fortifications could later be used as a strategic base by the Russians for further offensives towards the Dnipro River. As for the Zaporozhye direction, there have been several developments on the ground. Over the past several days, we have received numerous updates indicating that the Russians have fully secured the settlement of Putki. Multiple videos have surfaced showing Ukrainian soldiers surrendering to Russian forces. Today, we received additional geolocated footage published by the Ukrainian side. This video shows Ukrainian forces using FPV drones to attack Russian soldiers in Putki. This footage serves as 100% proof that the settlement was indeed captured and secured by the Russians by the morning of February 28. Perhaps today, the Russian Ministry of Defense will officially confirm this information. If this happens, then most likely, the Russians will continue advancing northward towards the settlements of Shiraki Mal, Shiraki Lova, and Kuman. The Russians' main objective in this area is to establish complete control over everything within the Red Line. Achieving this would enable the Russians to launch a potential offensive toward the settlement of Ara from the west. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, and have a good day.